Okay, we've got to plot cumulative frequency, which you may have met at GCSE, but let's just recap what it means. So our first category is for scores on this particular course, scores between 0 and 10. Okay, and there were 5 people in that category. Now, we say that 10 is the upper class boundary. It's impossible to score between 10 and 11. It's discrete data, so I don't have to worry about these two being different. Okay, so there were 5 scores of up to and including 10. That's just this 5 here. But then for the next one, the upper class boundary for this group is 20, and there were 17 scores for up to and including 20. So that 17 is the 5 in the first group and the 12 in the second group. And then the 55 who scored up to and including 30 were the 38 between 21 and 30 added to all the previous ones. So that's how cumulative frequency is calculated, and all I have to do when I plot it is to plot the upper class boundary. Now that's going to be a score, so we've got exam scores on the x-axis, okay, and it's always cumulative frequency. This should be named cumulative frequency on the y-axis. It should always be labelled. So our first one was for an upper class boundary of 10. I need to plot the value of 5, which on this scale is about there. Now I actually need to backtrack. I need to take the lower boundary of the first group, because up to and including 0, as far as I know, there is absolutely no one with those scores. So I need to plot an x. We always need to ground our cumulative frequency graph on the x-axis. Okay, and then the next one will be an upper class boundary of 20, and I plot 17. So I get 17, that's 10, that's 20, so it's going to be about there. So I'm going to plot the rest of my points. Well, it would be instructive for you to pause the video here and go away and do your own. Go on, off you go. Pause it. Okay, have you done that? Okay, well, if you have, that's what your points should look like. And the next step is to join these up. Now, you're probably not going to have to plot many of these. If you can draw a beautiful smooth curve through these, then fine. Next best is to use a ruler and actually join them one point to the next. That's usually acceptable. There's mine. Now, if you do this freehand, make sure you get do actually go through all of the points. One of the things that goes wrong is if people draw it freehand, then it is actually possible to get a curve that's quite a long way from the ruler version. So I'd tend for safety to go with the ruler version if you want to get the same answer as in the back of a textbook. Anyway, now I've got my graph, I can now go ahead and estimate what I have to. So what proportion of students scored 75 or more? So 75 is a score. So I need to find 75 on the score axis. So it's here. So what I need to do is go from my 75 to the graph and across to the other axis and see what happens. So we go up until we hit this point on the curve, then we go across, and that appears, the best I can read there, is 445. So I'm going to say, okay, 445 would be the cumulative frequency. So I want to think, okay, 75 or more. So 445 means that 445 students scored 75 or less. So what we need to do, the possibility they score exactly 75, we're going to kind of have to ignore. It's an approximation, so let's not worry too much about whether this 75 is included in the 445. What I need to say is that the ones who scored above that are going to be 500 minus the 445. Yeah, okay, it's these guys up here, okay, who are the 75th, who scored 75 and above. 75 in that way corresponds with this part of the curve. So that means I need to say 55, and it's out of, well, there were 500 students, so it's 55 out of 500, because my axis goes up to 500. It tells me there were 500 students, so my proportion is 55 over 500. 55 over 500, which is 0.11, which you can convert to a percentage if you want to, but a proportion is fine as a decimal like that. Okay, now it's telling me that 80% of students passed, and I need to work out the pass mark. So we've got to get work from the correct end. The pass mark is going to be quite a low score. It's only 20% of students who failed. So I need to think that the 100th person, okay, just passed. So if I go backwards from 100 on the cumulative frequency, this is the 100th person from the bottom, okay. What we're working out here is that 20% of 500 equals 100. Okay, so at the lower end, which is what we work from on cumulative frequency, I need to go up by 100. So here's that person that just passed, and I make their score 36. Okay, so that was my working, and my answer is 36. I don't cross this out, you want to show everything you've done. The median score. Okay, well, the median is to do with the person in the middle. So I need to be starting again from the cumulative frequency scale. We've got people from the 0th person in rank order up to the 500th person. The person with the median score will be the person bang in the middle at 250. So I need to do just what I did, but starting from 250. Here we go, back from 250 and down, and I make that score 53. So the median score was 53. And then the last thing I need is the interquartile range. So I need to think about, maybe do a slight calculation. I need to think about a quarter of the way up, the 500 people. Well, a quarter of 500 is 125, and 3/4 of the 500 people is 375. So those are the positions that I need to start from on the cumulative frequency scale in order to find my quartiles. So 125 is going to be here, and 375 is going to be there. We draw the lines on. If you haven't been doing this, then go away and do it. Find these out, work out your own interquartile range, and then unpause the video and see if you got it right. Off you go. Okay, have you done that? This is what you should get. Okay, so for my 125, that was very close to one of my data points. I make that indistinguishable from 40 for the lower quartile, and for the upper quartile I've gone across and down, and I've got 64. So my 40 is my estimate of Q1, my 64 is my estimate of Q3. Notice how I'm actually showing the values I've got, because these are worth marks on their own, and the method is worth marks. So Q3 minus Q1, okay, equals 64 minus 40. So show which values you're subtracting, equals 24. So that is my interquartile range. Okay, and I've shown all my methods, and I've shown all the lines clearly drawn with a ruler on the graph. You're fine using pencil. I recommend you do use pencil because you might need to rub it out. But I've used pink on here because I want you to be able to see it.